So I want to talk about anxiety and why you might be feeling kind of an existential dread or things like this. So this is just ways that I have found that actually do help me, and I don't hear anyone else talking about this kind of thing, about these techniques. Well, I've never actually looked into it myself and how to like cure anxiety or anything like that, but I've definitely had crazy bouts of it, and I'm not one to kind of feel sorry for myself or anything like that, but I think there might have been some like physiological components and like hardware problems as well as software problems as well. So but these have definitely worked for me, and let's say at one point not too long ago I had existential dread that was like crippling for like 9 months, and let's say that was a 9 out of 10 level, and now it's probably a 1 out of 10, sometimes 0, feeling kind of just bliss. Obviously sometimes it creeps back, but to like a 2 or a 3 rather than a 10. I don't really tend to get it that much. Sometimes some things now and again would trigger it. I've never spoken about this before, but like, you know, if you hear like a deep song or you listen to something that makes you think about something really deep. I don't know if you're a deep thinker, if you like to get deep in your thoughts and think about, you know, like existential questions, like why are we here, what we doing, what's going to happen to us, blah 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 blah. Like I'd be in scenarios where you're meant to be having fun and you're meant to be enjoying the moment, but I'd just be literally thinking like, what the fuck is going to happen to us when we all like pass away? I know it's depressing, or like, you know, in 2,000 years none of this is going to be here. You know, those fucking dark kind of rabbit hole things that can kind of lead into some kind of meltdowns. It's quite funny thinking about it, but it is what it is. I'm sure everyone experiences it if you're a deep thinker, but these are things that have definitely helped. Okay, so the first major thing I found, I don't know how to order it because they're kind of like, or there's all at the same level. So listen to your inner self whilst having a creative outlet. Okay, so one of the things that makes you feel like what's going to happen later on is because maybe on a level that's really deep you don't feel like what you're doing right now is kind of valuable, and because you're not following your path that you want to follow, it's causing like an anxiety, which is then like the symptom of that is you thinking deeply into, sorry, someone's just going mental with a horn, deeply into you know, dark stuff. So the two things that I join is, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing YouTube, by the way. The main reason is to log myself for my daughter. When she grows up, she can see what a dad was like growing up and during different phases of his life and stuff. But another thing is, it's a creative outlet for me, because if you feel like you're growing, you don't feel like you're dying. So if you're improving yourself, like health wise, you know, if you're getting out of shape and your mental image of yourself wants to be in shape and you're getting further away from this thing, you're essentially, your brain on a deep level is going to think, well, I'm not growing, so what's the opposite of that? Oh shit, yeah, you've come to the right conclusion. And then subconsciously that's going to start making you think about that. So if you just go clear your mind, whether it's meditation, walk, just go on regular walks, start thinking about what you actually want to do, you know, because if you actually want to start a business, or if you actually want to get in shape, or if you actually want to start a YouTube video channel, or if you actually want to, whatever it is that you actually want to do, and you're not doing that for long enough periods of times, you're going to start to like half resent yourself, which is going to come out as anxiety or depression. Like a deep thing here which happened to me is that I had this self-image. Someone's going crazy with the horn again. I had this self-image of myself because when I grew up, from a young age, I started swimming, and I was in like peak shape until I was about 19. Okay, so from about the age of 9 to 19, I was in like some awesome shape, and then 20, I'll go to university, start drinking a lot, start putting on a bit of weight, and now all of a sudden my image doesn't fit or match the self-image I have of myself in my head. So I have this kind of almost confidence or self-belief that when that would almost be quite amusing at some points, because I'd still think I had like a decent shape body, because you know I've had it for 10 years and I didn't. And then I'd look at myself on a photo and I'd be like, what the fuck has gone wrong? Essentially, like, this isn't me. And then I was like, I know I need to get back into the gym, but I wasn't doing it, and I was staying in this shape, and I was like, and just for ages I felt just like a bit of a fucking loser. And this was just like one of many things that happened to me. Like, it wasn't just that one thing, but it was like, imagine that on about 5 or 6 different aspects of my personality that was changing, that led to like almost an overburden. And when I realized that, I would go for a walk and think deeply about what I wanted, and then I would, first of all, as soon as you figure out what you want to do, you're going to feel happier just by knowing that. Literally, as soon as you know, like so what you're gonna do on the walk, you're gonna have loads of regrets, you're gonna have loads of guilt that are gonna come up, okay? And you need to just, on a deep level, you gotta forgive yourself. You gotta literally say to yourself, I forgive you for doing that. Like, I forgive this other person for doing this, I forgive someone else for doing that. Because you're gonna have loads of guilt that come up when you start going on walks and you start thinking about life. You're just naturally gonna have those things that pop up. And then eventually, once you've kind of forgiven yourself, or if you've asked God for forgiveness on certain things, that's kind of going to heal. And once you've healed all those kind of guilts, you can start thinking about, right, what do I actually want? When you start figuring out what you actually want, first of all, just that's going to make you happier. But then when you actually start doing something, and then doing it correctly to the point where you're starting to see progress in that thing, you're gonna like, your anxiety may melt away just a little bit. That might help it melt away. So that is so important. You've got to have your, whether it's a creative outlet, or just knowing what path you want to be on. So the creative outlet might be a little bit different, because there's like many paths that you can be on. So for me, like right now, trying to get back in shape again, which I am doing, and the weight's slowly coming off. And another thing is the business that I'm doing. Another thing is like this YouTube that I'm doing too. But this is what I see more as the creative outlet, rather than it is something I want to do too, but the main thing that I want to do is get to a certain goal of monetary income from a side business alongside my main job, to then build investments. And that is something that is a calling. And if I don't feel like I'm achieving or growing towards that, then like all of a sudden anxiety starts to creep in again. And it's not anxiety as in like, oh, I'm worried that I'm not going to achieve my goals. It's more of the existential dread anxiety that comes back. Like that you might not be like the symptom of the problem doesn't necessarily tell you that the problem is something else, if that makes sense. Like the symptom of the problem is kind of unrelated, because you'll be worrying about something that's unrelated to what's actually causing the anxiety. So the next thing is a creative outlet, because if you think about like a scale of consuming to creation, so like most people are consumers and just consumers in this day and age. I have been for the majority of my life. Okay, the last time you created something probably was at school. You probably got asked to create like a history project or an art project or whatever, and you know, it's fun doing that. And it doesn't have to be something, you don't have to create something that you don't want to create. Create something that you want to create. It doesn't have to be a YouTube video. It might be art, it might be whatever, music, it might be poetry, I don't know, whatever floats your boat. Like whether it's like just something that you know deep down that is creative, whether it's designing clothes. You don't have to be doing it for money, but something that you're passionate about that you can create, just create it. Just keep creating, so you're not just constantly consuming and constantly not doing anything about your life, and just going into this dark hole of just like everything is going inwards and nothing's coming outwards. So that's why I'm doing this YouTube video as well. Is, as I said earlier, it's like this is my creative outlet. I'm fully not expecting to talk to many people. You know, if I talk to one person, that's good enough for me. You know, if I would like to, you know, but that's the ego in you that everyone has, talk like wanting you to you know, just the ego calling you to do certain things. But like try to keep yourself grounded, just for certain reasons. That's nothing to do with like the egotistical reasons, as mentioned before. And another thing that really helps, I know this is going to sound really like blah blah blah, but you know, religion and Christianity, I can't even, I'm not gonna even lie, it's massively helped out. Like most of the negative emotions melt away. So I first off just started following, did I? Well, I've kind of been aware of not sinning for a long time before I was officially like Christian, okay, or accepted like Christianity. I always saw myself as like spiritual, but not following a mainstream religion, because I was like, oh, mainstream religion is just a control mechanism, blah 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 blah. Which you could argue it is, but the way I see it is like, would you rather follow the rules of something that is going to make you feel bliss, okay, or be ultimately free and do whatever the fuck you want and be hedonistic and feel disgusted with yourself 24/7, you know? Like there's only so many indulgences you can indulge in, and that is all indulgences. Whatever, you're probably thinking what I'm trying to insinuate. After a while you just feel dirty, and same if you eat loads of shit, you just become fat and you feel gluttonous. And if you get angry all the time, you just have bad vibes. So like I would rather like not sin. This was kind of even before I found Christianity, although it's been on steroids since finding it. And what I found is that it sounds really simple, but it works. Like if you don't do anything that makes you feel bad, which is essentially a sin, I see like the Christianity is essentially like the spirit is the psychology, kind of, in a way. Like if you're following this guidance of like how to have like heaven in psychology, like in your spirit being in heaven, like it just works, and there's no two ways about it. If you're not committing these sins, which are things that are going to make you feel bad, then you're not going to feel bad. I know that sounds really simple, but it's like, I didn't know that, for example, eating loads of shite is going to make me feel bad, because I see, oh, there's immediate pleasure right in the start, and this is great. But then afterwards, it can lead to you putting on weight, which is going to give you a bad self-image. Or the same with girls. You just, afterwards, something happens inside your mind and you don't feel good. And then it's the same with lying. You get paranoid about someone catching you in the lie. Same with stealing. You get paranoid about people finding you out, you know. Or God forbid you bloody killed someone. Lord knows how you would feel if that happened. You know, these things, if you don't do them, you're gonna feel less bad. And that is gonna lessen your anxiety, because you're not constantly worried about someone finding shit on you, essentially, or feeling dirty within yourself, or getting fatter, or blah blah blah. So, you know, all those things in combination. By the way, the main thing as well is that I said at the start with forgiveness and stuff like that is, you know, asking if you've done anything you regret, and you try and clear those up. You know, with yourself, if you don't believe in God, that's fine. No one's forcing anyone to believe in God, and I totally understand why most people, or someone would be atheist. I totally get it, because it's like a personal thing, personal journey. You can't really prove it, because it's essentially like, the way I see it, it's like trying to prove consciousness. It's like, you know, consciousness is there, but how do you prove to someone else that you've got consciousness? Like, you might just, you behind the camera might just be imagining everything around you. I might just be an avatar with nothing inside my head. You know, I used to think that, and sometimes, like, am I just making this up? But then I'm like, well, if it is made up, I'm a fucking genius, because how the fuck would I come up with what Albert Einstein came up with, or like Elon Musk, or like creating AI, and, you know, the maths behind everything? Like, I must be a fucking genius if that's the case. So I'm pretty sure I'm not just hallucinating it all. So I kind of know that everyone's got consciousness. I kind of believe that, but how would I prove that? I can't prove that. It just is something I believe in. And I feel like it's the same with God. Like, if you ask me to prove to you, why do I believe in God? Give me some evidence, give me some proof. Like, I can't fucking prove that there's a God. Is it unfalsifiable? But there's things that's happened in my life, and there's things that in the Bible, you know, like it's essentially historically accurate. Like, it's in a country that existed, under an empire that existed, with a person called Jesus that existed, that was crucified in a way that the crucifixion method existed. The acacia trees that were mentioned existed in the area at the time. You know, the psychological mental help that you can use is true. What I mean by true is essentially like this. Like, imagine you've got two books, yeah, from the ancient times, and let's say, rather than it being spiritual mental help that I believe is true, let's say it's physical help. So let's say there's two hypothetical scenarios, and a book that wouldn't be true on physical health would be something like, well, you know, if you want to lose, the book from 2,000 years ago is saying this: if you want to lose weight, what you need to do is do as little movement as you possibly can, and eat purely carbohydrates, and eat as much as you possibly can on a daily basis. And then when you read that book and you tried that book, and it wouldn't work, because what it was promising would be false. Like, it wouldn't be true. You would get fat and you wouldn't lose weight. But let's say that book from 2,000 years ago said, you know, if you want to lose weight, what you're going to do is you've really got to be careful what you eat. Make sure you eat until you're feeling, you know, it's kind of not scientific, but it'll give you things like, make sure you eat until you're feeling not stuffed but kind of satiated. Eat proteins, make sure you're moving as much as you possibly can and lifting as much as you possibly can in a safe way, and blah 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 blah. And you know, like, you should be training legs, blah blah blah. And then you do all these things, and then you start losing weight and get into shape. And this book 2,000 years ago kind of promised you that, and it does work, so therefore it is true. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what happens on the spiritual level in the Bible. It's like, it promises you this, and then when you do it, this happens. And it's like, that's true. It is true, because I've done it in my own life, and loads of people have done it. And you should try it, even if you don't believe in God or anything like that. That's fine, but at least try some of the methods, or try and follow it, and just test it and see if it helps you in any way, because it helped me loads. And that's probably one of the biggest factors that's helped me become less anxious. And I know I just went on a religious rant there, but I suppose it would be the same if you're Jewish, if you're Islamic, or if you're Hindu, Buddhist, I don't know, but maybe not. I know Christianity works for me, but maybe, you know, other people have different religions that they will follow as well. But yeah, aside from that, when it comes to just general anxiety, you know, the physical route, endorphin rush is a short-term fix too. That's why the walk is amazing, because it can hit loads of different aspects of trying to figure this thing out, rather than just it being a physical endorphin rush, or just it being a meditation to try and get the route sorted. But yeah, if you guys are liking my comment, if you guys are liking my videos, please comment something that you would want me to talk about, because loads of people have been doing it in previous videos, and it's really good for both me and you. Like, it's good because trying to think of a video to do is pretty difficult sometimes. I've got to sit on it and think about it. I enjoy it, and that's a creative aspect of it. But if you've got anything you want me to talk about, or you think that I might be able to help you out with, just comment on below and give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in another video.